Children of Life Bible Study. We will go ahead and begin with our prayer. Lord, we thank you for the breath in our bodies. We thank you for waking us up. We thank you for your mercy. We thank you for your guidance. And we pray that you continue to guide us on the straight and narrow path so we don't go the wide way and end up in hell in the lake of fire.
That's right.
Amen.
Come on.
Y'all ready?
Yes.
Y'all excited?
Yes.
All right. Y'all ready to sing?
Yes.
All right. On the count of three, we're going to sing together. 1, 2, 3.
Nawa Shabbat Shamayim Kadash Haya Shukra Ahaya
Louder.
Malak Waka Taba'a Ratusawaka Haya Asha Baratisa Kuwa Haya Vashamayim Nawa Wasabat Nawa Kawawat Nawa Kasalak Nawa Kawawat Nawa Wala Sabay Nawa Nawa Shabbat Shamayim Kadash Haya Shukra
Ahaya, Malak Wakai, Taba'a, Ratsasawakaya, Asha,
Baratisa Kuwa Haya Vashamayim Nawa Wasabat Nawa Kawawat Nawa Kasabat Nawa Kawawat Nawa Wala Babaya Nawa Messiah Wama Kawashai Nawa
Raikaya Laka,
Halakwa Wala
Good job. All right. Who can tell us what's next? What? Not in ancient Hebrew, but in English. All right. Babe, go ahead and lead us.
Our
Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
All right. What do we have next?
Creole.
Not the shakes, the credo. Amaris, go ahead and lead us in the credo. Where can we find the credo? What book, chapter, verse?
Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4.
All right, now Amaris, go ahead and lead us.
Shema Yasharala Ahaya, Alahaya Nawa Ahaya Akad. Hero Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Shema Yasharala Ahaya, Alahaya Nawa Ahaya Akad. Hero Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Shema Yasharala Ahaya, Alahaya Nawa Ahaya Akad. Hero Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord.
Good job. The what? What's next? The Ten Commandments. And what book and chapter can we find the Ten Commandments? All right, but now go ahead and lead us.
No other God.
What's the number?
One.
Everyone, don't leave them hanging. One. Thou.
shalt not have another gods before me.
Number two.
Two. Thou shalt not make unto thee graven images.
All right, third commandment.
Thou shalt not take the Lord God's name in vain.
Can we say that one more time together?
Thou shalt not take thy Lord thy name in vain.
Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. All right, what's next? Mm-hmm. All right, let's try to say them together, y'all. What's the fifth commandment? No, fifth commandment. All right, fifth commandment again. All right, sixth commandment. Thou shalt not kill. Let's say it on the count of three. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thou shalt not kill. See? It's good like that. All right, let's do this. Let's do the rest of them like that, all right? Seventh commandment.
Thou shalt not commit adultery.
That's just what we know. All right, what's the eighth commandment?
Thou shalt not steal.
What's the ninth commandment?
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor.
All right, what's the 10th commandment?
Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house.
All right, next we have the fruit of the Spirit. What book, chapter, and verse can we find the fruit of the Spirit? Michael, go ahead and lead us in the fruit of the Spirit.
Love, joy, peace, self-celebrate, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance, against such there is no law.
All right. All right, what do we have next? The Hebrew alphabet. Go ahead and lead us in the Hebrew alphabet, Araya. Go ahead and sing it. All right. Now we have not the shapes. We have what? Numbers. All right, Zion. Go ahead and lead us in our numbers from 1 to 30. Aishar. 14, Arabah Aishar. 15, Kamasha Aishar. 16, Shasha Aishar. 17, Shabbat I Ishar. 18, Shema Ishar. 19, the I Ishar. 20, Isharayim. 21, Isharayim Akkad. 22, Isharayim Shanayim. 23, Isharayim Shalasha. 24, Isharayim Harabaiha. 25, Isharayim Hamasha. 26, Isharayim Shasha. 27, Isharayim Shabbat. 28, Isharayim Shabbat. 29, Isharayim Sha'aiha. 30, Not yet. The color. All right. Aliyah, can you tell me a color?
No, green. Green. Thank you, Mariah. No, I didn't mean Mariah.
He went to sleep.
Stop faking. How you
Wait.
faking?
Oh.
Oh, now you don't want to say it.
Beige.
All right, I'll
See,
take that.
you
Good job.
Elias still taking sleep. He committed. Okay. Micah.
committed.
What color do you want to say?
But nobody was watching.
How do you pronounce it? Pink for Wawa, Araya, Gawa, Amaris, Black.
You know what?
Shikawar, Zion. Mm-hmm. I think so. Okay. All right. What? Blue? No, what's blue? Banana.
She's gonna say it the traditional.
Someone said purple. I didn't see it.
They whisper for too funny.
You might as well talk. Come on, you gotta keep going. Someone said beige. Someone said beige. Gray. Okay. All right. What's gray again? Power. There we go. All right. Amaris. Brown. Wow. What'd you say? Say it again. You said green? He said something.
Yeah, he probably did.
When he's being watched, he
Oh.
doesn't say it,
Oh, okay.
but he'll whisper it.
Okay. Michael.
That's tricky.
Oh, you don't know. Would you like something?
Oh, that's right.
Yellow. Okay. Okay. All right. Did we forget a color? You guys tell me. All right. No, we didn't.
Oh, she said orange.
We said orange.
She said blue.
Take a while.
You better stop that.
All right. So we said all the colors. I believe someone said red. Are you guys ready for the shades? I don't know if y'all ready. I'm gonna put it back. I don't think y'all ready. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Hey, you bet it's more shapes. Well, we're gonna take our time and go slow. Okay. Come on,
We gotta know these by heart.
Oh, y'all can
Uh-uh.
shape.
See, this one animal shape. I need circle.
No, cod.
He did.
No, mashalash. Mashalash. All right, let's try to say it together now. Together, okay? Listen to your Dawada mother.
Repeat after me, okay? Circle. Cog.
Cod.
Square. Rabat. Rectangle. Malaban. Triangle. Mashalash. You guys say it by yourselves now. Do we know our shapes? Oh, okay. What's this?
No.
Y'all wrong. We don't do each other like that.
Sorry, it was a
Triangle.
the closest. Mashalash. Okay. One more time, let's we gotta focus, y'all. We can have fun, but we gotta focus, okay? Still excited, all right? All right, say them again together.
No. Pay attention. All right, hands to yourself.
Rabah. Okay, we got wait, Malaban. Mashalash. So we're gonna continue to work on this with this child. No. All right. So next we have the books of the Bible. We're gonna do it together on a count of 3. 1, 2. Okay, wait. Before we start,
Put down.
again, we can have fun while we're learning, but we don't want to start acting silly and foolish, okay? Akan? All right.
1, 2,
No, are you the teacher? Okay. On the count of 3, we'll do it together. 1, 2, 3. Genesis, Job, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Chronicles, 2 Chronicles, Psalms, Proverbs, Song of Solomon, Ecclesiastes, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, Ruth, Joel, Jonah, Amos, Hosea, Isaiah, Micah, Nahum, Zephaniah, Habakkuk, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Daniel, Ezekiel, Ezra, chapter 1 through 6, Obadiah, Haggai, Zechariah, Ezra, chapter 7 through 10, Esther, Nehemiah, Malachi. Oh my goodness. Good job. He wasn't ready.
He said he can't do it like that.
What do we have? The what? The 12 tribes of Israel. Okay? All right, you guys got a Shemai.
Who's the oldest?
Reuben, Simeon, the bottom one. Levi, the way. Judah, Simeon,
Zebulon.
the bottom one. Ephraim,
Issachar.
Issachar,
Gad. Naphtali.
the father God.
Manasseh.
Manasseh, Apostle,
Ephraim.
Ephraim.
And then we have
Which is the baby.
Good job, everyone. All right, are you guys ready for our book we're going to do today?
Yes.
All right, so we are going to be in the book of Daniel. Everyone turn to the book of Daniel,
I want to listen to myself.
and then raise your hand once you're there.
Hello.
Okay. Thank you.
I know how to do it myself.
Good for you, but I can't find it.
All right, raise your hand when you find it. Thank you.
I cannot play back up.
So did not, y'all. Stop.
all right. So you say Daniel in Hebrew. His name is Daniel.
Denial.
I want everyone say it.
And his name means God is my judge. What does it mean?
God is my judge.
Do you think that Daniel?
You separated?
Was Daniel a major or a minor prophet? Major. How many chapters does he have?
How many chapters?
3.
You gotta look to the very end of the book.
12.
12. How many verses is in Daniel?
25.
More than that.
26.
More than 200. More than 206. More than.
28.
You're not gonna just go up by that. You better guess something a little bigger.
Not 9.
300.
A little bit higher than 300.
400.
Lower than 400.
500.
What?
325.
Higher than 325.
335.
Look at the price of
Higher than 335.
345.
Higher than 345.
50.
A little bit, just a little bit higher than 300.
362.
You said 150?
60.
If we in the 300s, you got me home. You got me home. I like to help me a lot.
357.
So how many?
Oh, no.
How much? 57.
357.
So this book has 3 different languages in it. And we see that through the words that is used in this book. And we see Aramaic, we see Persian, and we see Greek. And we'll get more into depth once we get to it. So there's little known about Daniel's childhood, but in Daniel, it hints that he's from a royal bloodline. What kind of bloodline? What kind of bloodline?
Not paying attention.
Oh.
Y'all gotta shema, y'all gotta listen.
So it hints that Daniel is from a royal bloodline. What kind of bloodline? And what does that mean? Who comes from a royal bloodline? Oh, chosen people. Do you guys come from a royal bloodline?
Yeah.
Oh, but that didn't sound too sure.
Yeah.
Do you guys come from a royal bloodline?
Yeah.
I was looking for more. Yes! Can I get yes?
Yeah.
Thank you. So Daniel had a gift. Can anyone guess what this gift was? He was able to do something. Yeah. Have what? He did have faith. That's how the gift. he had the gift to be able to interpret dreams.
Do you guys know what interpret means?
So if you have a dream, he was able to tell you what your dream was and what your dream meant. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if you have for example, if you have a dream that there's a purple flower in the ground, he'll be able to tell you why there's a purple flower in the ground and what it means. Shut up.
Baby. That means.
Oh.
Hold on, wait a minute.
All right. And now we're going to get into the book of Daniel.
Yeah. So Daniel, as your daughter said, is believed that he came from a royal bloodline. And Daniel was really young when the captivity started. It's believed maybe he was about 15 years old. Is that pretty young? That's true though.
Oh, Lord.
All right. So with the book of Daniel, we are actually going to see the Babylonian captivity through the eyes of Daniel and see all the things that happened. Okay? All right. So the outline of the book of Daniel, it talks about different things. So some things it talks about is his training in Babylon and his friends, which we're going to learn about later today. It talks about the kings that were over them in the Babylonian captivity. And it also talks about Daniel's visions and dreams. So we're going to actually begin with a recap. Now, when we were in the book of Jeremiah, we talked about the captivity. Who remembers how many times the king of Babylon came to Jerusalem and took people away? Say it. Three. How you say it in ancient Hebrew? Yep, Shalasha. So remember he came and he kept taking people away each time?
Yeah.
Well, guess what, y'all? Daniel was a part of the first group.
And they were the Babylonian king has the good fish.
Yeah, the good fig. That's right.
Oh.
Yep. The good figs.
But not the bad fish.
What happened to the bad figs?
They were sent to.
Of course, before they were left.
Somebody was listening last week.
So that was King Jehoiakim. He was king at the time, so he was taken away also in that first group, okay? They were taken away, all right? So we're going to start off in Daniel, chapter Akkad, and we're going to read verses Akkad through Shaniah. So that's Daniel, chapter 1, verse 1 through 2. Akkad. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Good job.
Daniel chapter Akkad, verse Akkad. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God.
So remember, did they take things out of the temple? Out of Yeshua? They did.
He took our stuff
Mhm.
on table.
All right, let's leave it there before we go somewhere else. All right. So we're going to continue on and we're going to read verse 3 and 4. So we're going to stay in Daniel chapter 1 and we're going to read verses 3 through 4. Daniel chapter 5, verse Shalasha through our Bible.
Verse Shalasha. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel to the king's seed of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans.
So did they take away good people or bad people?
Bad people.
What?
Good people.
Were they smart or were they not so smart?
Smart.
Mhm. So if Daniel was in that first group, was he good? Was he smart? All right. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about what happened, okay? So when they first got there, they were the king. He appointed someone over them to give them food. All right. Now, this food wasn't the food that they were used to. It was food that was not something that they should eat. So if it's not something they should eat, do you think it will be unclean or clean?
Unclean.
So there might be some unclean things, maybe, right?
The octopus. It's unclean.
Like octopus.
Can someone name another unclean thing?
Pig.
Mm-hmm. It's
Cow.
cow is clean.
Leprechaun.
All right.
It's chicken.
So we're gonna go ahead.
Chicken.
That's clean.
That's clean.
All right. So Daniel and his friends, they didn't want to defile themselves with this food, okay? But guess what? They also changed their names. So remember I said earlier we were going to talk about Daniel and his friends? We're going to see who his friends were and what they changed his name to, okay? You guys ready? We're going to stay in chapter 1. And we're going to read verses 5 through 7. So Daniel, chapter Akkad, verses Kamashim through Shabbat Ayah. Mm-hmm. 7.
Verse 7. 5 through 7. Okay, verse Kamashim. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. Now among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, unto whom the princes of the eunuchs gave names. For he gave unto Daniel the name of Belteshazzar, and to Hananiah Shadrach, and to Mishael Meshach, and to Azariah Abednego.
Mm-hmm. So this is one thing about captivity. So whenever our people went into captivity, like when they went into captivity, when our ancestors came here, the slave masters, they changed their names. So for example, let's say you were in captivity, right? And your name is Banah, but they say your name not Banah, your name is Toby. And Micah, his name not Micaiah no more, it's Robert. See how they changed the names? What about you? Your name is today Abdiel, right? They'll call you Janet. So we see that they had their Hebrew names, but your name is Zion, right? They called you Zach. All right, let's bring it back into focus. Let's bring it back in focus, okay? I'm trying to show you guys that whenever they went into captivity, they would try to change everything about them. They would try to change their name, the foods they ate, and their language. So we see right now, he changed their name, and now he's trying to make them eat food. But let's read verse 8. Let's see what Daniel said and his friends. So we're still in Daniel chapter Akkad, and we're going to read verse Shemawunah.
Daniel chapter Akkad, verse Shemawunah. But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself.
All right. So Daniel and his friends, they were not going to defile themselves. So you know what they told the eunuch? Let us eat pulse, which is like vegetables, fruits, things like that. Let us eat this for 10 days. And if our countenance looks better than the countenance of the people that was deciding to agree to eat the king's food, we shall see which one is better. So guess what? The 10 days came, and let's say the people over here, they were eating the king's meat and drinking the wine. But Daniel and his 3 friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were not. And you know what happened on that 10th day? Their countenance, it looked much, much better than those children. So we're going to stay in Daniel chapter Akkad, and we're going to read verse 15. Verse Kamasha Ishar.
Verse Kamasha Ishar. And at the end of 10 days, their countenances appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat.
So you see that? So because of that, let's just say we'll get to that point. What happened with them? Okay, with his friends and with him. All right. So now what we're gonna do? We're actually gonna go ahead and we're gonna talk about our first king. And this king is Nebuchadnezzar. What's his name?
We didn't hear everybody. What was his name?
Nebuchadnezzar. No, that was that. But now we're going to talk about the first king, okay? We're going to talk about a couple of kings today, but we're going to start with our first one, okay? All right. So we are going to read in Daniel chapter Shanaim, and we're going to read verses Akkad through Shanaim. So that's Daniel chapter 2, verse 1 through 2.
Daniel chapter
2.
Shanaim, verse Akkad. And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar's dreams, wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Then the king commanded to all the magicians, and the astrologers, and the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans, for to show the king his dream. So they came and stood before the king.
So, what happened with Nebuchadnezzar? He had a really bad dream, and it worried him so much. He wanted to know what the dream meant. And didn't your Dawada Amana say one of his gifts that Daniel had was to do what? Yes, tell people their dreams. So,
and the interpretation of the dream. So what the dream meant, right? Right?
Yeah, right.
Hey, eyes up here.
You need to be looking this way. Y'all should be turned this way, looking this way. Turn around, Michael. All right. So, what Nebuchadnezzar decided to do, remember, he went to astrologers and sorcerers. Do you guys know what astrologers are?
No.
So that's people who look at things like the zodiac sign. But you probably don't know what that is.
Study the stars.
I know.
So they would look at the stars and try to get wisdom from the stars. And who do we get our wisdom from? The Holy Spirit. And then they would go to sorcerers. Those are like witches and warlocks. And are we supposed to do that?
No.
No, we're not.
It's men who do magic.
Yes, evil. Okay? So, listen, you missed it. So, he went to these people and he told them, hey, I had a dream. I want you to tell me my dream, but I'm not going to tell you what I dreamt about. I want you to tell me. So, first of all, he tried to seek ungodly counsel, which was a no-no, right?
Right.
And then he wanted them to tell him the dream that he had, but guess what? They couldn't do it. So the king was really upset, and he decided he was going to kill everybody because they could not tell him the dream.
Do you guys think is that something impossible to do?
Yeah.
So if I say, Amaris, tell me what I dreamt about last night. What was called? No, I'm just kidding.
So we're gonna see if
For
it's
them.
really impossible. We're gonna find out. So we're gonna listen, okay? So we're gonna stay in Daniel chapter Shanayim, and we're gonna read verses Shanayim Ishar. So that's Daniel chapter 2, verse 12. Chapter 2, verse 12. You're in chapter 1.
Daniel, chapter Shanayim, verse Shanayim Ishar. For this cause the king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon.
But guess what? Daniel and his friends were included in that. So he was going to kill all the people of Babylon, including Daniel and his 3 friends, because they were considered what? Wise.
What were they considered? They were what?
Wow.
Oh, okay.
All right. So Daniel heard about this, right? So he decided that he was going to go into prayer and get counsel from Yeshaya to find out what the dream was about. So he asked the king's guard to give him, one moment. So he asked him to give him some time so that way he can go into prayer and get the meaning of his dream. So do you know what Daniel did? He went into prayer. He asked Yeshaya. And guess what? Yeshaya gave him the meaning of the dream and told him what the dream was about. So is it impossible? That's right. No.
They're whispering.
Because Yeshaya can do anything. He's powerful. So he was able to go to the king and tell the king the meaning of his dream. All right? Yes, it's possible, okay? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to see. You guys want to know what the dream was? I don't hear everybody. Does everyone?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to stay in Daniel chapter 2, and we're going to read verses 31 through 34. So that's Daniel chapter Shanayim, and we're going to read Shalashayim Akkad through Shalashayim Araba'ihah.
Verse Shalashayim Akkad. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out, without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, that were of iron and clay, and break to pieces.
So there's more to the dream. And Daniel gives him the interpretation. So if you guys want to know the interpretation, I suggest you guys read that with your parents this upcoming week. Okay? We gotta, make sure we stay on everything, but So Daniel was able to tell him the dream, and the king was very happy for that. So he made Daniel above the affairs in Babylon, okay? And Daniel sat at the gate at the king. So that was a really, really nice position that he had with the king. So that's where we're going to leave it with that. But a few chapters later, with the next chapter, we're going to see what happened to his friends with King Nebuchadnezzar, okay? So King Nebuchadnezzar, he built a tall statue. Yes, and that tall statue, it was about 90 feet tall.
90 feet tall.
90 feet.
Feet.
90 feet.
90 feet.
Yeah, but not like that. Let's listen, okay? It was about 90 feet tall.
90 feet tall.
Shh. Listen. All right? Shemai. And guess what? He wanted everyone to bow down, to worship that image that he made.
Oh, what commandment? What is it?
After that, have no other God than God and not make unto any graven images.
That was rough. Y'all both said it, but y'all mixed them up.
Yeah.
So what's the first commandment?
Let's not have no other God for it.
And what's the second commandment?
And not make the gods any graven images.
Mm-hmm.
Did they break both of those?
They break one, they break two.
And Nebuchadnezzar tried to get Daniel's friends, his best friend. They tried to get him to worship that statue.
So guess what? The king still made that decree. And when they heard the sound of a flute, a cornet, a harp, a sackbut, and psaltery, so those are all instruments. All right. So when they heard the instruments, they were supposed to stop what they was doing to worship that image.
Listen, you're gonna listen. And then they got that tambourine.
Not the tambourine. I said instruments.
Or two.
So if you was in the middle of cooking and you heard a blare, what'd you have to do? You heard an instrument, what'd you do? Oh, okay.
So they were supposed to fall down and worship that graven image. But you guess what? Daniel's friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they said, no, we are not going to worship your image. So do you think the king was upset about that or happy about it? Mm-hmm. And guess what? In that decree, so decree is like a rule he made, a law. In that law that he made, he said anyone who did not listen to him will be thrown into a fiery furnace. So it'll be on fire.
Burn. No, we gonna read the story. We're gonna read
We're gonna find out, okay?
We're gonna read these scriptures.
Yeah. We're not gonna tell you what happened. All right. So the king confronted them, and they had a response for him. When he said, you're not going to worship my idol, you're not going to listen to my rule. So we're going to read in Daniel chapter Shalasha. All right, and we're going to read verse Shashah Ishar. All right, all the way to Shemawana Ishar. So that's 16 through 18. Daniel chapter 3, verse 16 to 18.
One more page.
Daniel chapter 3, verse 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up.
So they decided to stand in Yeshua and be loyal to Yeshua no matter what. And they didn't turn on Yeshua. So let's see what happens. We're going to stay in Daniel chapter 3. All right? And in chapter 3, we are going to start at verse 20. So that is Daniel chapter Shalasha, verse Asharayam. So we're going to start at Daniel chapter 3 and start at verse 20.
Verse 20. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to carry them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, and their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace.
So the king tied them up and threw them in the fire. How does that sound? But is it? We're going to find out. All right, remember they were tied up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to go ahead and read verse 22. All right, let's go ahead and read verse 22.
Verse 22, therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame out of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Oh my goodness. Did y'all hear that?
Yes.
So the people that were throwing them into the fire, listen, the fire was so hot, it burned them, it killed them. That's some hot fire, huh?
Before they even got to the furnace, they burned it up.
All right. So, let's see. Now they're in the fire, right? Remember, they were tied up. You remember? You guys remember that?
Yeah.
All right. But guess what? When Nebuchadnezzar, when he looked in there, he saw something. We're going to see what he saw. We're going to read verse 24. So, Asharayim Arabai.
Verse Asharayim Arabai, 24. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished and rose up. Say it again? Astonished, and rose up in haste and spake, and said unto his counselors, did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, true, O king. He answered and said, lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God.
How many men were in the fire?
4.
How you say it in Hebrew? Thank you. Arabai.
How many did they put in there though? How do you say it in Hebrew? So how did they get 4? How did they see 4? Only 3 was put in.
Because there was an angel in there.
Oh.
So guess what? They were so amazed by this. So guess what? They took them out of the fire, and guess what? The fire did not touch them at all. It did not touch your hair on their head. Their clothes did not smell like smoke. It had no burns on it. At all. Isn't that amazing? Just think about it. If you put some clothes in the fire, aren't they going to burn?
Yeah.
They were inside a fiery furnace, and they came out. No smell of smoke. Their clothes did not have any smoke on it, no fire, nothing.
Y'all don't look like y'all believe it.
And they were tied up. What happened?
What?
Exactly. They were tied up.
Go get my match. No, I'm just kidding.
So they were amazed. But you know what? Who's at the power of? The power of who? Shia. Okay. So they had faith in Yeshua, and they didn't turn their back on Yeshua.
Wow.
Isn't that how we should be today?
Yeah.
Yes, we should. Yeah. We stand firm on the word of the Lord. and we stay loyal to him, we don't turn our back on him. We keep his commandments,
That's right.
and we have trust and we have faith in him.
That's right.
All right? All right. So now, there was something else that happened with this king before we get to the next king. He had another dream, y'all. Another dream. And in this dream, he wanted to know the meaning of it. So who do you think told him the meaning of his dream? Daniel did. Mm-hmm. Now, if you guys want to know this dream, you got to talk about it. All right? Yes. So, in this dream that Daniel interpreted, he was telling Nebuchadnezzar not to be prideful. Who remembers what prideful is? Mm-hmm. And guess what? He didn't listen to the message that Daniel gave him that was from Yeshaya. So guess what? Nebuchadnezzar walked around saying, I did this, I did that. And he started being prideful. And Yeshaya warned if he was going to be prideful, he was going to be living with the animals. Mm-hmm. And when he lived with the animals, he was going to look like an animal. He was going to act like an animal. Have a mind like an animal. So guess what? He went and he was prideful, and his enemies chased him away. And he lived among with the animals. Does that sound good?
No.
Who wants to go live out with animals?
I don't think nobody want to do that. Yeah, with the beast. So we're going to read in Daniel chapter 4. And in Daniel chapter 4, we are going to start. One moment, sorry. At verse 32, and we're going to read verse 33. So, Daniel chapter Arabah, verse Shalashayam Akkad. I'm sorry, Shalashayam Shanayam.
Daniel chapter 4, verse 32. And they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen,
Not grass.
and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will.
Now that's 7 times, that's 7 years, y'all. So he was acting like an animal for 7 years.
7 years.
That's the age of that one.
He ate grass for 7 years. Who wants to eat
Come on,
grass?
y'all,
for
let's stand
7
up.
years?
Let's go outside and eat some grass.
No.
Exactly. Bro, what you doing?
I'm moving.
You better listen and pay
Oh,
attention.
he was there.
All right.
Oh.
So let's go ahead and read verse 33.
Verse 33. The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like bird's claws.
Isn't bird claws pretty long? But guess what? He was warned about that pride. And remember, in his mind, he was prideful also. And in his mind, he began to act like a beast of the field. So do you guys know that Yeshaya gave him a mental illness?
Yes.
And that mental illness is called
Lycanthropy.
So guess what? You guys ever seen an animal like a werewolf? Isn't a werewolf hairy?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that. So he was just as hairy as a wolf, but he had really, really long nails. Like a bird. Oh, I didn't mean it like that. I'm sorry. So he had a mental illness. So is it good to be prideful?
No.
No. So guess what? We're going to go to our next king now. And the next king was Nebuchadnezzar's son, Belshazzar.
Such authority.
What's his name?
Belshazzar. So y'all go ahead and turn over to Daniel chapter Kamasha. And what's chapter Kamasha?
5.
Yes, 5. Mhm. All right. So with his son, he decided to have a feast, right? He had all his friends there. He had his family there. And he decided, you know what? He told his servant to go to get those golden vessels, to get the golden cups out of the temple of the Lord, the temple of Yeshua, and get those golden cups so his family and his friends can drink from the gold. You about to follow? I know, right? The gold, the gold cups that was used in the temple of Yeshua. They took it in the captivity when they took things out of Jerusalem. They took the golden cups and some other things out of the temple, and he's going to use these same cups to entertain his family and friends. That was used for Yeshua's holiness. You think that's good?
No.
Do you think he's acting prideful like his dad?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Do you think he should have known better?
Yes.
He should have. All right. So what we are going to do, we're going to see what happens. So we're going to read in Daniel chapter Kamasha, and we're going to read verse Arabaiha through 4 through Shasha.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Daniel chapter Kamasha, verse Arabaiha. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone.
So not only did they drink from them, they worship gods of brass, iron, wood, and stone. So were they breaking commandments?
Yes.
And they
All
were
over the place.
getting worse, y'all. Let's see what else happened.
In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw that part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote against one another.
So a lot of things are happening. So they saw, oh my goodness. What it do? What it do? So they saw a finger come out of nowhere. The finger, the hand. It wasn't attached to nobody's body. It just started writing on the wall. What would y'all do if y'all saw a hand writing on the wall?
There's nobody there.
Y'all be scared? Well, guess
You
what?
saw nothing else but a hand. Stand around the corner and do it. No, oh, Lord.
You can't run out the room.
Look, this is what happened, guys.
Look,
Wait,
look.
don't look yet. Don't look.
Oh.
So,
Oh my goodness.
You gotta hide every part of your spell. Oh, he gonna play the part.
Too bad this ain't on camera.
Good.
You got lost, y'all. No, we see you. You gotta just swing your arm.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Look!
I can still see his clothes.
So that's what it was, something similar to.
and he was so scared. What was he doing?
Knees was knocking.
So that's somebody who's really scared because their whole body is shaking. Their knees are just knocking together. But guess what? That was Yeshaya giving him a message. All right? Well, we're going to find out. So we're going to read what the writing said. But if you want to know the meaning of the writing, you got to talk about that with your mom. Yeah. So we're going to read Daniel, and we're going to read chapter 5, and we're going to read verse 25, what the writing said.
Daniel chapter 5, verse 25. And this is the writing that was written, many, tekel of parson.
So, really quickly, so Yeshaya was saying to him that he had numbered the kingdom and finished it, and that he was found, that he was weighed in the balances and found wanting, and that his kingdom was going to be divided unto the Medes and the Persians. And we'll talk about them in some weeks to come. But guess what? He died. He got killed. And then another king took over. So within this message also, Yeshaya told him that he saw. So Belshazzar, he saw what happened to his dad. He saw what happened to his dad and how his dad acted in pride. And Yeshaya had to do something, had to punish his dad for 7 years. And he saw this and he decided, I'm going to still be prideful. So Yeshaya had to deal with him a different way because he knew better. He knew what was expected. And he still decided to do evil. He was prideful and he was disrespectful to Yeshaya. So his punishment was much worse. Much worse that he died. So if you guys see something wrong, should you guys do the wrong and worse? Or should you turn away and not do the evil that you saw? Turn away. Did you guys do that this week? Did you guys see anything that was really bad or not of Yeshaya? You should say, yeah. Did you do what you saw or did you turn away from it?
I don't say nothing.
You please. Okay.
I'm not saying nothing.
All right. So we're going to go to our third king. All right. And with our third king, we get a lesson from our third king. And this was King Darius. We're going to learn it with this king. We have to be careful when we make decisions. And we can't be too quick when we make decisions either, because there's consequences when we don't get the right counsel and when we make quick decisions, okay? So there are some people who were jealous of Daniel and they even hated him. And they wanted Daniel to get in trouble, but they didn't find a way. But they could never find a way to get Daniel in trouble. So they thought of a way. Aha, idea. Light bulb. So they told the king, you know what, king? You should make a rule that people should have to worship you and they can't seek counsel from no one, no other gods, right? And if they do, they have to be thrown in a lion's den. So they told the king, you know what? Make it a decree. Sign the decree. So remember, a decree is like a what? A law. You almost had it. Like a law or rule. Yeah.
Right.
So the king decided, you know what? That's a good idea. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. He didn't even think about it. He just did it. And at that time, they had a thing called like a king's seal. So a king would take his ring and he would stamp it on some paper, and that'll be a seal, and that can't be undone. Once the king makes that rule, it can't be changed. Okay? So guess what? Let's see what Daniel did. So we're going to read in Daniel chapter 6, verse 10. So Daniel chapter Shasha, verse Ishar.
Daniel chapter Shasha, verse Ishar. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day, and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he did aforetime.
So did Daniel listen to the rule that the king made?
No.
So he still prayed to Yeshua. He still gave him praise and honor. He worshiped him with his windows wide open. So did he hide and do it so nobody knew? He opened up the window so everybody can see, and he still did it.
What would you do if someone told you not to pray to Yeshua ever again? Would you listen?
No.
Would you hide and still do it?
No.
Or would you do it out in the open?
No.
I don't remember what y'all saying.
I don't want to.
But yes, that's how we gotta be.
I said, open that window right now.
They won't open that window.
So the people saw it, and guess what? You think they went to go tell on Daniel?
Yeah.
They sure did.
Mhm.
They told Daniel. But guess what? The king, he liked Daniel. Daniel had favor with the king. So when the people came to tell the king what happened, let's see how the king felt. So they went to tell him, and let's read what happened in Daniel chapter 6, verse 14.
Verse 14, then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him.
But guess what? He couldn't deliver him because he signed it with his seal. So he couldn't undo it, because that was their rule for the Medes that they had. That he couldn't undo that rule. So guess what? Daniel had to go in the lion's den.
What den? What kind of den?
Mm-hmm. So they thought now they got Daniel, and Daniel was going to be killed and eaten by the lions. But guess what? An angel had came and shut the lion's mouth. So that way the lions could not hurt Daniel. Can you imagine being in a den with a lion? More than one lion. And more than one lion. And Yeshua sends an angel to close that mouse lion so he cannot eat you. Or she cannot eat you.
He's a mouse lion.
Oh, the lion's mouth. The mouth of the lion, the lion's mouth.
Okay.
So, guess what? The king couldn't get no sleep that night. He was tossing and turning. He fasted. He prayed. And as soon as it was morning, he hurried up and he went down to see if Daniel was alive. And he found out. You think Daniel was alive?
Yes.
He was. And so he told the king, and the king was so happy. He was so relieved. And guess what? He was angry at somebody. Who do you think he was angry at?
I think it's about
Mm-hmm. And guess what happened to them?
they
And their families. They all got thrown. And guess what? Them lions was hungry. And the lions tore them to pieces and killed them. So even though, we all know the story, but we got to focus on something important. Even with the 3 Hebrew boys, they kept their faith in Yeshua, and they did not turn. They did not do what the other people told them to do, even though they knew it was wrong, and they could face death. So we have to be like that with Yeshua today, because that's going to happen again. So we got to make sure we're ready when that day happens, and stand for Yeshua. Okay? Now the last king, we're going to talk about him briefly, but we're going to talk about him in the weeks to come. That is King Cyrus. And guess what? With King Cyrus, he was actually prophesied in the book of Isaiah that he would be king. Did you guys remember? You guys remember that? Like, you said no. So he was prophesied, but guess what? He was born on this earth for a purpose. Yeshua had a purpose for him to be born. And do you know that all of us here, we were born for a purpose and for a reason? And we have a special assignment for Yeshua? Do you guys know that? Well, if you didn't know, now you know. So you weren't born on mistake. Yeshua wanted you to be on this earth at a certain time, and he has an assignment for all of us to do. And we're going to see what Cyrus was going to do for the people, and why Yeshua wanted him to be born on the earth. We're going to see that in about 3 weeks. No, more than 3 weeks. We're going to see that in a couple months. All right? So, the next time we talk about Daniel, what will be in 3 weeks. And when we talk about Daniel part 2, we're going to learn more about his visions and the dreams that he had. Okay? All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. We give all praises to Ahaya, Yeshua, and the Holy Spirit for the word, for the lesson. Please join us for our main Shabbat lesson at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Kwam Yashala.
Kwam Yashala.
Sit down. Sit down.